Recent reports claim Meghan Markle is adamant about avoiding divorce, controlling the narrative, and reshaping her relationship with Prince Harry. But does the article reveal more than just celebrity drama? Could it point to patterns of manipulation and control? Let's break down the details and uncover what might really be happening behind the scenes. But before you begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. The article I want to talk about today is titled, "Divorce is Not an Option: Prince Harry and Meghan Markle Working on Their Romance After Leading Very Separate Lives." This article was published on December 23rd at 7:38 p.m., so it's pretty much hot off the press. The article begins, even though Prince Harry has adamantly denied the rumors he and Meghan Markle are not splitting up, it seems like some people really believe something is up in their marriage. Radar Online can reveal. One source claimed it feels very much a case of he who doth protest too much. Everyone has noticed they're rarely together anymore. Okay, so first I want to point out that there's a double negative used in this sentence. It says Prince Harry has adamantly denied rumors he and Meghan Markle are not splitting up. It should say are splitting up, right? Has adamantly denied rumors he and Meghan are splitting up. So there's a double negative here, so you guys read into that what you want. Is it a Freudian slip? Are they denying rumors that they're not splitting up? So I don't know, maybe it's late at night and I'm recording, but you all let me know if you see it too. Let's talk about this statement here. It feels very much a case of he who doth protest too much. Everyone has noticed they're rarely together. Malignant narcissists, they often prioritize controlling how others perceive their relationships. Public denials of marital discord, while they emphasize commitment, reflects their need to maintain this illusion that they are in a perfect relationship. I think it really strikes a nerve with Meghan when these articles come out about conflict that's happening in their marriage. She really wants to control that narrative. She really wants it known that they have a beautiful family and a wonderful life. And I want to point out that Meghan's influence on shaping this narrative is a calculated approach in order to maintain her public image. This is part of, in my opinion, her brand, in quotation marks. She's a mother. She's a wife to a prince. She's created a beautiful family. I think it's very important to her. And I think it's very important to her at this time in her life because she's getting ready to promote a documentary that is about just that: entertaining, cooking, gardening, having social interactions. The pair has traveled without one another in recent months, leading many to believe they're living separate lives. The source alleged they're very clear that they are not divorcing and just as committed as ever, but that doesn't mean there aren't some areas they want to and need to work on. One thing that has really fallen by the wayside is the romance, and they vowed to tackle that proactively. So let's talk about the history here that they're saying. The last time I remember that Harry and Meghan were photographed together was on September 14th when they were driving to go to Tyler Perry's birthday party. The following day, September 15th, was Prince Harry's 40th birthday. The only other time we've seen the two of them together has been in that video clip that was projected at a conference in Colombia. And that video clip, in my opinion, was recorded far in advance. We know that Harry has been traveling quite a bit. He went to New York a couple times. He was in Chicago for a little bit. He was in London for a little bit. He was in Africa for some time. All we've seen of Meghan is she's making appearances in LA on red carpets. And you all know, how those appearances are going. Here it says it leads many to believe they're separate lives. If I come to you and describe you what a couple is doing, and this is the description I give you, wouldn't you believe they're living separate lives? Personally, I would. The source says that They are clear that they are not divorcing and they're just as committed as ever. And at the same time, there are things that they need to work on. This is true of every couple, am I right? It's just different that Harry and Meghan are now saying this, or that sources that are around Harry and Meghan are saying this. In my opinion, this talk about them being very clear they are not divorcing and just as committed as ever is strategic emotional manipulation. The repeated need to emphasize this moment, despite evident tensions that us on the outside can definitely see, reflect gaslighting, a hallmark of narcissistic behavior. It creates doubts in external observers while minimizing internal conflicts. So us on the outside, we can see that there's trouble, and they're telling us there's no trouble. There's just a couple of small things we need to work on. This statement suggests that Meghan is managing how Harry perceives their relationship while she's simultaneously addressing external skepticism. Notice that she is speaking for him. They're very clear they are not divorcing. And as we go through this article, you'll see that the bulk of it and this source, whoever came forward, I think they are communicating with Meghan and not with Harry. If we make that assumption that that's true, this is Meghan saying, we're very clear. So she is speaking for him. Another thing in this passage that I want to point out is that one thing that has really fallen by the wayside is the romance, and they vowed to tackle that proactively. This proactive approach doesn't sound like it's a genuine emotional connection, but is for the need to maintain control over how the relationship appears to others. Romantic gestures could serve as performative acts rather than genuine attempts to mend the relationship. I wanted to go into this a little bit and talk about what this would look like, how a performative gesture is made and it's not genuine. So one example could be a partner posts an elaborate social media tribute for an anniversary after a heated argument the night before. The gesture is more about presenting a happy facade to followers than resolving the underlying conflict. A second example could be, instead of having an honest conversation about their mistakes, a partner surprises the other with an expensive gift or an extravagant trip. The focus is on overwhelming the person with material gestures rather than addressing the emotional rift. A third example, a partner frequently declares their love and gratitude for their significant other in group settings or online, but avoids engaging in meaningful conversations or emotional intimacy in private. This one resonates a lot with me in my marriage, and I believe in my relationship, in my marriage, that this was the beginning of the end, because soon the public gratitude and love started diminishing. And in my experience, I know a lot of people say that in the narcissistic cycle, there is idealization, which love bombing is a part of. And then there is devaluing, which is a period of time where a person's self-esteem is really, really broken down. And then finally, there's a discard. I don't believe that the discard has to be a physical discard. In the case of my marriage, my ex-husband had discarded me a long time before. And it is the loneliest of places to be. I don't think a lot of people talk about that, but it's definitely what happened with me. Another example of these performative acts could be a partner delivers a perfectly worded, rehearsed apology in front of others, aiming to appear emotionally intelligent and remorseful. Privately, however, they remain indifferent or dismissive about the actual issue. And a lot of times, narcissists are very charming. They perform well sometimes, and it could happen that when you go to talk to your family about conflict you might be having, they've only seen the charming partner that, rehearses their apology and appears emotionally intelligent. But behind the scenes, it's a completely different story. The article continues, to make sure they're connecting, the actress 43 is adamant about planning special trips with her and just Harry without their kids, Prince Archie 5 and Princess Lilibet 3. A source said, they're really going to carve out the time they need to, otherwise their schedules get so jammed. They've also vowed to stay patient when it comes to the palace, which can get them worked up. They're not going to sweat that stuff anymore. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. The first one I'm going to approach with humor because they've been on many trips. I've never seen children with them, okay? So I don't know about this thing, planning special trips where it's just her and Harry. However, in order to be able to apply this in any relationship that you, the audience, may be in, let's assume that there are children. And Meghan is trying to reestablish connection with Harry, and she is proposing to plan special trips where it's just her and Harry. What does that sound like? That sounds like isolation to me. It is control over Harry's actions and decisions. This insistence, I believe, is an attempt to isolate Harry from external influences, even his children, in order to reassert control and maintain the relationship on her terms. I have forgotten to mention, but my stepmom is a malignant narcissist, and Meghan's behaviors align very closely to my stepmom's behaviors. So when I speak of Meghan, I am talking from my own experience and comparing them to the actions that I have seen my stepmother take. Malignant narcissists often manipulate situations to ensure that they are the center of their partner's focus, sidelining other relationships or responsibilities. They are trying to be the only person in their victim's ears. So again, we see here this statement, they're really going to carve out the time. And in my opinion, these words are coming from someone that is communicating with Meghan, allegedly, and in my opinion. So when the wording says there, I believe this is coming from Meghan, and she is speaking for Harry. This other sentence kind of throws me for a loop. I have an opinion about it, and I'm curious if you all have an opinion as well about it. It says, they've also vowed to stay patient when it comes to the palace, which can get them worked up. Staying patient implies that you're waiting for something. So what are they waiting for? I'm really curious about that. What is it that they're expecting from the palace? Who do you think is the one that's trying to be patient? I think the two of them, Harry and Meghan together, are incredibly volatile. So when one of them gets agitated, I think they agitate the other, and then it's an upward spiral, or maybe you could consider a downward spiral. But in either case, it makes the situations worse because they are just adding fuel to each other's fires. So I can see why, when there are topics that can cause controversy between a couple, that you would not want to discuss those things when both people can get incredibly agitated. And then the next question is, why would Meghan get worked up about it? In my opinion, what I see here is that Meghan, in my opinion, is not a peacekeeper. I think Meghan creates more conflict. And I think maybe Meghan has come to the realization that the more she's creating conflict between Harry and his family, Harry's slipping away, in my opinion. She doesn't want him getting worked up about that even more, because the more he gets worked up, the more distance is created between the two of them. So there comes a point in narcissistic relationships, and I've experienced this too, where your tactic, you've gone too far and you start backpedaling. And I think that's kind of what's happened here. Harry has been pushed to the limit, in my opinion, and Meghan has realized she can no longer use the palace, his family, as a means of creating an us against the world issue, or talking consistently about how they've wronged her and how she's a victim. It seems to me he's not buying it anymore. Or if he is buying it, he's reacting in a way that's creating distance between the two of them. And I think Meghan realizes she can't lose control over him, and this is now a topic she's starting to tread carefully. There's also this statement about they're not going to sweat that stuff anymore. This indicates a dismissal of external stressors for the sake of optics rather than resolving underlying conflicts. And I think this is exactly what it is. This is a very superficial statement that's being made. This is very temporary. I'm going to avoid talking about this issue because it's creating a lot of conflict, and we're already in a high conflict state. For the sake of optics, for the sake of trying to not let him get away, we're not going to sweat this small stuff. And again, the word they is used. So I believe Meghan is talking for the both of them, allegedly. A narcissist prioritizes appearances over substantial issues, and choosing to suppress these problems is a threat to the facade of perfection. And I believe this is part of the issue too. She wants it to be known out there that they don't sweat that stuff anymore. They're over it. That was so 4 years ago. So the article continues. According to the first source, Meghan is the one who wants to avoid discussing the royal family since Harry, 40, is not on the best terms with them. Okay, so this goes in line with what I was just saying. Meghan is the one that wants to avoid discussing the royal family. I think it's because Meghan realizes the more she's talking about it, the more she's pushing Harry away, allegedly, and in my opinion. But notice it's putting the responsibility almost on Harry. So Meghan is going to avoid discussing it because Harry's not on best terms with them. Harry's the one in conflict with them, which we all know this is not the full story. The majority of the conflict, I believe, that was created between Harry and his family started as soon as Meghan came into the picture. Now look, there were underlying issues and grievances Harry felt towards his family, but Meghan is, in my opinion, an instigator. When Meghan found these tiny cracks in the relationships in order to isolate Harry, which is something that narcissists do, she exploited these. So for example, let's say one day Harry comes home and talks about, oh, I had an argument with William today. And it could be an argument that's very small that, they just see each other the next time and they give each other a hug and they apologize and it's solved. But Meghan can't let things like that happen. Meghan needs to isolate Harry. So what does she do? Oh, your brother did that to you? I can't believe it. Don't you remember? He also got the bigger bed when you were in Sandringham as boys. So she adds fuel to the fire. That's her technique. And I think this paragraph, Meghan has realized she needs to stop it, at least temporarily. It's not working for her right now. One more thing I want to add here about Meghan wanting to avoid the discussion of the royal family is that she is avoiding accountability. She is steering Harry away from conversations about his family, redirecting his focus from issues that challenge Meghan's narrative and for which she could be responsible for. Avoiding accountability is a common trait of narcissists who shift conversations or blame to prevent scrutiny of their own actions. It's a type of deflection, essentially. The next line says the approach is straight out of Meghan's California therapy speak playbook. I have to be honest with you, I don't know what therapy speak is. I don't know what California therapy speak is. This sounds a lot to me like word salad. And this sounds to me like if the description of it is word salad, maybe it's also word salad, allegedly. And I have to say that I am ignorant on the topic. I did do a little bit of research on it, but I'm not well versed in it. And the things that I've seen about it is that this type of therapy speak, it lacks authenticity. It can come off as insincere or overly polished. It avoids conflict by sidestepping difficult conversations and using jargon as a shield, which is basically word salad as a shield. It misuses psychology by oversimplifying or misrepresenting complex psychological concepts, and it alienates others by creating barriers by sounding overly clinical or self-absorbed. If there's anyone out there that knows about this, please drop it in the comments, and I apologize right now for my ignorance. These are just the things that I've read online about it. I could imagine, though, that when Harry and Meghan are arguing, there is a lot of word salad. And the reason word salad is effective for Meghan is that there's so many words that are used and no message is actually communicated. And it is very, very frustrating. I have seen it. I have seen word salad used to break down a partner. So the argument just stops because you end up so confused after it, you don't even remember what you were fighting about. So it seems to me that's one of Meghan's strategies, allegedly, and in my opinion. So a little bit more about Meghan's use of this California therapy speak. This suggests a calculated use of therapeutic language to manage or manipulate situations. Adopting therapy speak as a tool to placate Harry or control narratives aligns with the narcissistic strategy of using emotional language without genuine empathy. I think additionally, this type of language keeps people on their toes and is incredibly challenging to keep up with because it's a lot of word salad and it leads to no actual message being communicated. It saps your energy. I know it because I've been through it. So you walk in and you have a legitimate reason for being upset and you want to talk about it. But all these words are coming at you, and by the end of it, you're so confused that you forget what even happened. Like you just drop whatever it is that happened. And I could imagine how, after this many years of marriage, how frustrating that could be for Meghan's partner, allegedly, and in my opinion. And finally, this is where the article continues. This is the cherry on top. This is what we've been working towards in this video. Okay, the insider added, of course she'll move heaven and earth to avoid divorce. A custody case would be way too messy to comprehend, and thanks to Harry's family, he has endless means. Meghan will be making it very clear that no matter how stressful life in the US gets, divorce is not an option. First glaring thing, no mention of love. She doesn't want to avoid, if you read this paragraph, she will move heaven and earth to avoid divorce, but not out of love. And you can read between the lines what it is that is her aim. This statement, of course she'll move heaven and earth to avoid divorce, in my opinion, is less about preserving her marriage and more about preserving her public persona and avoiding the potential loss of status and resources. The emphasis on avoiding a custody battle and Harry's, in quotation marks, endless means points to self-preservation over emotional connection. So you can see here, there are material reasons why Meghan will move heaven and earth in order to avoid a divorce. Okay, so just to summarize, based on this article, we can see a number of ways that Meghan, in my opinion, is trying to influence Harry and take advantage of this situation. She's attempting to control the narrative. Sorry if you all can hear my dog. She's getting comfy in her bed. Meghan is managing public perception of her relationship while minimizing the significance of internal struggles. There are isolation tactics that are occurring here, where Meghan basically wants to get Harry alone. Emotional manipulation is happening here because of the strategic use of therapy speak and performative romance, which mask deeper control mechanisms. There's an avoidance of accountability, steering Harry away from conversations about his family and royal drama keeps the focus on her preferred narrative. And there's a lot of self-preservation happening here. Refusal to consider divorce aligns with a narcissistic fear of losing control, status, or resources. So I would like to know, what do you think about this article, about Meghan Markle's actions? Do you think these rumors are overblown, or do you think they align with traits of a narcissist? Please discuss in the comments. If this content was interesting to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of my next video. I appreciate you listening, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Goodbye.